Hey everybody, just wanted to do a quick video about these BF Goodrich Mud Terrain TA KM3s with Alba Crusher beadlocks. I'm going to put them on this new RMAX that I just got. The RMAX comes with some nice 30-inch carnivores, which are really a pretty aggressive tire, and they come with beadlocks as well. That it's a very respectable wheel and tire package. I just want more diameter, and I do a fair amount of pavement riding as well, so I don't really want that knobby of a tire. So I got rid of that, or I'm getting rid of these and putting on this set of 32-inch BFGs that I got. If you watch my YouTube channel much, you know, maybe like it's been about a year ago, I drove to California and bought a guy's YXZ 1000 and all of his parts. He had a whole build planned and he just never completed the build. So I drove there, put a whole bunch of stuff in my trailer and came back to Texas. So I've had these wheels and tires on the shelf in my shop for a year. I very briefly put them on my son's YXZ when I did a test ride. Other than that, they've just been sitting here. So I brought them to Waynoka with this new RMAX 2 XTR, and here we go. Just pulled it into our shop in Waynoka, and I'm gonna swap the tires and discuss the pros and cons a little bit. Okay, so I put this first BF Goodrich or I guess they call it a Mud Terrain TA KM3, 32 inch by, what is it, 32 by 10, where is it, 32 by 10 R14. Oh my gosh, for the first time I just realized these are 14-inch wheels. I didn't even know that. Okay, so these are Alba Crusher beadlocks, and I think they are a centered offset. I guess they're a 14 by, I don't know, maybe a 14 by 7, something like that. I bought these as a part of like a group buy, so I don't know all the specs on the wheels. So I just put one on just kind of as a comparison. I wanted everybody to see on this new, I just got this RMAX 2 XTR. As you can see, the offset definitely stands out quite a bit more than the OEM Carnivore. And obvious height difference as well. The reason I kind of wanted to compare them is, you know, you can never be too sure on tire manufacturers' specs. Some brands just don't ever measure out to the same spec that they say that they have. So what I've done here, just wanted to do a side-by-side here comparison. So they do definitely appear to be 2 inches taller. I think 2 inches is about right. I have not measured any of this. They have about the same tire pressure or air pressure in them. And the profile seems to be pretty similar as well. You know, they're both kind of a rounded profile. They're not really squared off. The BF Goodrich tires are definitely a smoother tread pattern, I guess. That suits my driving more. I rarely go into anything real loose with these cars. If I do, I put sand paddles on them. But, and I never do mud at all. So I do a lot of trails, and I do some pavement as well. So that's why I'm putting the BFGs on there. And I just love those tires. I think they're great, fantastic tires. Also, I would like to note that they are noticeably heavier. Again, I'm not real scientific about this comparison. It's just that when I'm lifting up this taller, bigger tire, it is definitely heavier than this OEM tire. I suspect some of that weight difference is in the tire, and I suspect some of that weight difference is in the wheel, because I believe all the hardware that's in this 3-piece beadlock wheel is going to add up to several pounds worth of difference. The billet centerpiece, the face of a spun aluminum wheel is not very heavy, you know, compared to something like a cast wheel, like these factory ones. The hoops are not very heavy. The front and the rear outer face, I guess, not really face, hoop ring. This part of a 3-piece wheel, and this part. That part is not necessarily heavier. It is certainly not much heavier. I think it's actually going to be lighter. Spun aluminum is going to be quite a bit lighter than a cast wheel. And then the beadlock ring itself is probably, this is pretty thick. The Alba crusher here they're definitely going for a heavy duty look and feel to it. And so that's a pretty thick beadlock ring. It's probably heavier than this factory cast aluminum piece. But one of the biggest differences with a beadlock 3-piece wheel is all the hardware. What is there, something like 20 bolts out here, and those are not small bolts. Those are thick, heavy steel bolts. And then the inner hardware where the face bolts up to the hoops also has a bolt and a nut on each side. So I'm guessing 20 in there, also maybe 16. I don't know, I haven't counted any of it, but point is there's a lot going on there, and all of that stuff adds weight. So I think generally speaking, when you increase in size, when you go from a 30 to a 32, you can expect to add weight. That's not always the case. I know in sand tires we can definitely get really lightweight setups, but with these real knobby tires, there's so much material there that they just tons of weight to them, and they're thick. You know, I don't know how many plies they are, but there's a lot because they're designed to be really. Oh, and the BFGs are radial also. That means it has steel belts in it that I don't know if these are technically street legal or not, but I think they are. If it says radial, I believe it's going to be DOT certified. Anyways, that's not what I'm looking into right now. Well, actually, never mind. It says not for highway service, so maybe not. Oh well. Well, I was looking for a like a spec regarding how many plies it is, but anyways, my point is it's a very rugged tire that's designed to take a lot of abuse. You don't be a Baja champion without having a real robust tire. So I trust the BFGs, and I think they're a great product. So that's why I run them, even though they're a little bit heavier. So I'm going to put the rest of them on this car, and I'll do probably do a rear comparison as well. I cannot get my camera to focus, sorry. I'll probably do a rear comparison as well and see where we're at. Well, that was fun. I took it around the block, made sure all the everything was centered, and came back and just torqued the lugs. Feels good. The 32s do clear just fine. I didn't really do any like real suspension work. I suspect that it might rub if you G out real hard or something like that somewhere. I don't know. But turning radius is fine. There's no issues at all turning the 32 and clearing that front fender or anything like that. I will say that it is noticeably more suspension travel in the rear than my 4-seat RMAX LE. And the spec sheet says that the 2-seat model, so this one right here, has like 2, maybe even more than that, like 2.5 inches more rear suspension travel than the 4-seat model. And it was noticeable just from jacking up the car. So when I put the jack under the back there to lift it up, to put these tires and wheels on, it took quite a bit more jacking, to say the least. But anyways, that was all really. I forgot to do a side-by-side comparison with one factory wheel, one aftermarket wheel on the back. I did that on the front, but I didn't do it on the back. I did kind of measure with a straight edge. I believe these are 14 by 8 inch wheels. and they have 5 inches of back spacing, 3 inches in the front. So these are not centered. It's not a 0 offset wheel. It is actually a little bit narrower than center, but the factory ones I think are like 6:1 or something like that. So overall, this is an inch or 2 wider. You can tell by how much tire sticks out beyond the fender when you're looking at it at this angle. Overall, it is a inch or 2 wider per side. I don't know exactly, but there's that. Also, something else I'll point out, in my experience with all kinds of different brands of wheels and tires, kind of notice the small things. And something I'll point out about these Alba Crusher beadlocks, 3-piece beadlock. First of all, I really like this hard valve stem. I don't know if that's the way they come. I think it is, or if that's an option or what. But that hard valve stem that's turned is, first of all, it's very, very convenient, and also it's very rugged and sturdy, and points the valve stem in the correct direction. So that's nice. A couple of things I don't like is there's no center caps. That doesn't really bother me, but I have like a friend who just absolutely hates the idea of no center cap on the wheel because it looks incomplete. I don't know if Alba has optional center caps or not. I might look into that. Doesn't really bother me. I kind of like the idea that you can check to make sure your axle nut is fine. Just at a glance, you can tell if it's backing off or good or bad or whatever. I guess the flip side of that is if your axle nut was backing off, it could easily slip all the way off and disappear. Whereas if you had a center cap, it would probably waller out and it would definitely get ruined and everything like that if you rode it for very long. But the axle nut would actually still be inside your center cap. But I agree, it does kind of look incomplete. Since this wheel is black and it's like a raw machined aluminum finish, the fact that the center, or I guess that's the hub on the inside, the fact that it's silver also, and the axle nut silver, and the tip of the axle is black, it all kind of looks okay to me because it's all black and silver. If this was something that was different colors, or if I was doing custom powder coating on all this stuff on this car, I would feel differently about it. But it doesn't bother me. And again, like I say, Alba may offer optional center caps. One thing I don't like is their, I'll call it refinement. So on a Douglas 3-piece wheel, they have like the Douglas, the DWT logo. I don't have any of my cars in this room with the Douglas wheels, but I'd show you. But it has like the DWT logo here, and then the valve stem is like at a perfect zero. I guess that would be 180 degrees. It would be down at the bottom, and then the logo would be on, what is that? That would be 270 degrees or whatever. Anyways, it reads properly. And then on their beadlock ring, it has their logo again at the bottom or at the top. But the point is the center face, the hoop, the valve stem, and the ring all kind of line up and have a pattern so that you could get it right. So what I'm getting at is there is no logos on this, so lining it up isn't really a thing. Plus the pattern is so sporadic, like I wouldn't even be able to notice if this lined up with this or not. You know what I mean? There's a lot of angles going on. But what I did notice is that the valve stem is not in the same place. On one of the wheels, I think it was this one. Yeah, the valve stem almost interfered with the lug nut. So I have an air chuck that's kind of a big chunky piece of metal, and it almost touched that lug nut. So here you see the valve stem and the lug nut are close, whereas over here they're not close. You know, it's rotated differently. So when they're assembling these, the face and the hoops aren't necessarily being assembled in any kind of form or fashion. They're just lining up the bolts and tightening them down. So certain manufacturers, you know, will pay attention to detail like that, and some won't. Overall, these wheels and these tires seem to be very good quality products, pretty heavy duty, and I'm gonna be thrilled to get a bunch of use out of them. So I hopped in the new RMAX 2 XTR with these wheels and tires on it and drove from the north gate to the south gate across Little Sahara State Park sand dunes. And it's pretty soft because it's been windy all week, but I was pretty happy. It did fine. I was in four-wheel drive the whole time, and I didn't attempt any two-wheel drive, which doesn't make sense anyways in sand that's very soft with this type of tire. But did good, and it was a this is a noticeably sportier side-by-side than the four-seater is. That RMAX 4 LE that I have is quite a bit heavier in the back, or in the suspension is inferior in the back. So that was a noticeable difference for me. This two-seat RMAX XTR had pretty good travel, and it was nice and smooth. And like I say, I didn't have any problems at all running around with these wheels and tires on it. And so I ran over to Little Sahara Sand Sports, dropped in, wanted to get a flag and a couple of other accessories. I always like to check out their shirts and grab some stickers or something while I'm in there. So that's it. Go ahead and watch and or like and subscribe for more content about this RMAX 2 XTR build, and more footage of Waynoka and Little Sahara, Oklahoma. Thanks. Bye.